Hi, I'm Dave Cut, and you're watching another Comic Chat. What's up, guys? Back again today with another fantastic story, and honestly, a book I've been sleeping on. This is DC's story of the Sandman. And in this story, it's about a group or a cult of people that try to trap death and imprison death to enslave and have power. But instead, they actually end up summoning and trapping the Lord of Dream. But instead of letting him go because they got the wrong person, they take everything he has on him, his helm, his ruby, his pouch of sand, and leave him naked, locked in a basement for over 70 years. And when he finally escapes, he's out for revenge, and he's out to get all of his stuff that was taken from him back. So let's dive right in with the story of Sandman with Chapter 1, Sleep of the Just. And this story starts out on June 6th, 1916, in Witchcross, England, where we see a man who was asleep on a carriage ride waking up to a giant mansion as he knocks on the door. And a butler answers the door as the man introduces himself, saying that he is Dr. John Hathaway looking for Mr. Burgess. The butler tells him his master is in the study and to follow him as they enter the house. And in the study, Mr. Burgess was surprised to see Dr. Hathaway, but he tells Mr. Burgess that an unfortunate telegram had come his way as his son was killed in a destroyer that was sunk last week. And he brought the book that Mr. Burgess had requested and questions him if what he's telling everybody is true. But Mr. Burgess says, "Oh, it's quite true, Dr. Hathaway. The Grimoire was all the order needed to hold the next ceremony at the full moon, and then no one need die ever again." So on June 10th in 1916, in Toronto, Canada, Ellie Marston listens to her bedtime story. She knows it's only meant to entertain her, but it terrifies her. Kingston, Jamaica, in his father's inn, Daniel Bastonmont sleeps. The shouts and songs of drunken adults do not shake his slumber. He dreams of a castle in the air, above the blue mountains, a castle made of clouds. And in Verdun, France, there's Stefan Wisserman, who goes over the top again tonight. As soon as it gets dark, he never dreamed it would be like this. Nobody told him. He lied about his age to enlist. He's only almost 14. And in London, England, Unity Kincaid tosses between linen sheets. She dreams of a tall, dark man. His eyes burn like twin stars in her head. She mutters and whimpers, lost in a world beyond her understanding. Unity dreams. To back at Witchcross, England, Roderick Burgess's waking dreams are of the power and the glory, and of death, of course, especially death. Now, the clock strikes midnight. Mr. Burgess's son tells him it's time. And he tells his son that they're going to attempt to achieve what no man has done before. They are going to summon and imprison death. And after tonight, no one will make fun of them anymore. No one will make jokes about him, because he will have death at his command. And even if they fail, they will still have the Grimoire. And Dr. Hathaway will forever be in their sway, as they say that they'll just plunder the Royal Museum. And down in the basement, everyone gathers, and it is time to begin, as everyone goes to their places. Roderick Burgess is scared to capture death, to bind the Reaper. For a moment he hesitates, but only for a moment. As he begins, he says, "I give you coin I made from a stone. I give you a song I stole from the dirt. I give you a knife from under the hill, and a stick that I stuck through a dead man's eye. I give you a claw I ripped from a rat. I give you a name, and the name is lost. I give you the blood from out of my vein, and a feather I pulled from an angel's." The words of the spell toll inside his head. Burgess realized that he couldn't stop now even if he wanted to. As he continues on, "I call you with names, O my lord. O my lord, I summon with poison, and I summon with pain. I obey the way, and I open the gates." As everyone starts chanting, "Come, come, come." Burgess continues, "I summon you in the name of the old lords. Namtar, Aluta, Morax, Neberis, Klish, Vebar, Maimon. We summon. Ashima Diva calls you. Maborium calls you. Horvindil calls you." As they continue, "Come, come, come." He says, "From the dark they call you. Into the dark they call you. Through coin and song, knife and stick, claw and name, blood and feather. Here in the darkness, here in the darkness. Here in the darkness, here in the darkness, here in the darkness. Everyone together says, we summon you together. Come. As a being appears before them, cloaked in darkness. So that brings us to Chapter 2, Sleep of the Just. As others are in amazement that it actually worked, Roderick just says, no, we failed. This isn't hell. This isn't death. But even so, he stripped it from everything it had, from the ruby gem to the bag of sand to the helm he wore, leaving him nothing but naked to sit there on the cold floor, thinking that he can still turn a profit from this failure. And with that, the little girl Ellie, who was terrified of the bedtime stories, falls asleep as her dad takes her to bed. We see she never woke up. To Daniel Bustamante, who returns to his best dream, but this time the clouds are frail, flimsy, less real, and then the clouds aren't there at all. So, too scared to sleep, he sobs to keep himself awake until dawn. Even the kid who was barely 14 in the army, Stefan, his case was new to the doctors. They thought they had seen every form of shell shock. I mean, how long can a boy go without sleeping? When do the nightmares sneak into the daylight? I mean, the morphine was proving useless. I mean, it's sad, really. Stefan Westerman went over the top. And Unity Kincaid finds it harder and harder to stay awake. She now sleeps for almost 20 hours a day. She used to dream to shift in her sleep, muttering and sighing, locked in, half remembering fantasies. Now she lies unmoving, breath shallow and silent, lost to the world. Unity sleeps. And as we can see through the point of view of the prisoner, the cult comes back in as Roderick tells him, this is the circle that traps you, and you're not going to get out unless I order it. And he's not going to order it until some conditions are met for his release. I mean, they summon this guy out of nowhere, and then they leave him trapped, naked, in a basement, and you're going to make threats? Let's see how that works. So 4 years go by, and that brings us to June 1920, where the Great War 2 years in the past, an overdue stock taking, reveals the logs of the books and manuscripts of the Royal Museum. Professor John Hathaway, senior curator, comes under suspicion. As we see Dr. John Hathaway walking through the museum, cursing Roderick Burgess for pretty much making a fool out of him, using him, taking the book, promising him that his son would come back, and honestly just lying to him. So he writes a suicide note, and he picks a weapon, one from the museum, to kill himself with, but Roderick Burgess watches it all. And when John finally does kill himself, Roderick uses magic to burn the suicide note, so no one knew it was him. So no one knew that the grimoire was given to Roderick by Dr. Hathaway. And with no suicide note found, people started to speculate that Dr. John Hathaway was mentally unbalanced. I mean, he did use a museum artifact in his suicide. Some accusations were made linking Hathaway to Roderick Burgess, but the now Lord Magus of the Order, he refused to comment, clearing his name, essentially. And with no one left to know the real truth, the prisoner remains trapped down there. And the sleepy sickness, as it was so called, continued to spread. People fell asleep and did not wake up. They lived their lives like sleepwalkers, eating if fed, sometimes talking nonsense, dream stuff. So no one knew what it was. From scientists to doctors, nobody could tell what was happening. And finally, unable to sleep, Stefan Wasserman killed himself a year after his discharge from the army. He was only 16. So this goes on for another 6 years. So in August 1926, so this is 10 years now, he's been imprisoned. We see an older Magus walking into his study, saying, 10 years in that goldfish bowl, and he hasn't said a word. He just stares at me with those creepy eyes. We see that his son had actually found out some information about their guest, as he tells his son, like, why do you think I ordered none of the guards to sleep? He had figured it would be one of the Endless. He just wasn't sure which one. I mean, they knew it wasn't death, but could it have been desire or destiny? As they know now, it was that dream was the only one that really fitted the bill. And he had left this information up for his own son, Alex, to find out on his own, and he did, and he was very proud of him for that. Now he knows that the order will be in safe hands, when he passes it on, as his butler even agrees. But 4 years later, in November of 1930, the butler actually takes off with the mistress of the Magus, and they take with them many of the order's treasures and over 200 pounds in cash. So magical war is declared. And 1 month later, in December of 1930, in San Francisco, the butler, Sykes, is already begging this being, this entity, for protection, even offering up Dream's helm, as this being gives him an amulet that'll protect him as long as he wears it. And back in Witchcross, England, we see the Lord Magus is sacrificing a cat to kill Sykes, wherever he may be. But it's useless because he still wears the protection. And there's nothing really they can do. But Lord Magus's son, who's now older, Alex, asks maybe they could try raising death again. As Lord Magus says, that's a stupid idea. No. Because he believes they can get Sykes if they just keep trying. So, 6 years go by, and it's 1936. So now it's been 20 years that Dream's been imprisoned. We see that the mistress walked out on Sykes, and she took the amulet with her. And that was perfect timing for Lord Magus. As Sykes was asleep, we can see him waking up saying, "No, no, oh God, no!" before exploding, literally exploding. Because while he wore the amulet, it kept him safe. When he still possessed it, it was worth everything. But now, it just protects her. I mean, I wonder if she knew that it was protecting him, because he kind of made that deal by himself. So in July of 1939, so 23 years that Dream's been imprisoned, we can see that Ellie Marstein is in a charity ward. She's still asleep. She has woken twice in the last decade. Each time, she cried for her mother. She still thinks she's 8. And Daniel Bustamante was one of the last people to succumb to sleepy sickness. End of 1926. He's now been asleep for 13 years. His wife and children miss him. Unity Kincaid was assaulted 7 years ago. She gave birth to a baby girl. The scandal was hushed up. The baby was adopted. Unity never knew about it. She slept through the whole thing. I mean, the universe knows someone is missing, and slowly it attempts to replace him. Like Wesley Dodds' nightmare has stopped since he started going out at night. He puts evil people to sleep with gas, and sprinkles sand on them and leaves them for the police to find in the morning. The idea came to him in his sleep. He doesn't dream about the man in the strange helmet anymore. No more burning eyes, everything's alright. Wesley Dodds sleeps the sleep of the just. And in 1947, 31 years after first capturing Dream, he's kind of finally had enough. He bursts through the doors screaming at Dream, telling him it's all your fault. All your fault. You're not death, but you live forever. He hasn't aged a day since they caught him. He could have given him power beyond his wildest dreams. As Magus breaks down crying, saying, "I didn't have to get so old. I shouldn't have to get old." As we can see Dream thinking, watching my captor grow old and die. No satisfaction. Still here. Still waiting. And, as we see, that was it for him. He died in 1947. And on the gravestone it's written, he's not dead. He only sleeps. So we jump ahead to 1955. Almost 40 years after Dream was captured. We go to Ellie Marstein, who they finally have a name for her diagnostic. She now wakes 4 or 5 times a year. She just wants someone to read her a story. Or to Daniel Bustamante, who is awake much of the time. He doesn't speak, though. The superstitions say he is a zombie, a walking dead man. And if he spoke, you might agree with them. Something died inside him a long time ago. You remember? The castle made of clouds? To Unity Kincaid. When her parents died, the family executives had her put into a nursing home. They have to explain to her where she is every time she wakes. She never remembers. Around her, the elderly wait for death, as they wait for an old friend, just killing time. And back in Witchcross, England, we can see Alex, who has now taken over the order after his father died, is talking it over with the guy named Paul, thinking about what they should do with this man they have trapped downstairs, because it's technically kidnapping, but Alex tells Paul it's fine. He's been down there for almost 40 years. He doesn't need to eat, sleep, drink. He doesn't even think he can breathe in that glass cage he's in. I mean, he's a being of unknowable power. They still know really nothing about him. But Alex has seen some stuff, some nightmare stuff that still scares him to this day. And Alex just says it's better to leave him down there. He'll be long dead before he ever gets out. And one night, Alex goes down and talks to Dream, telling him, "You don't have to be in there. You know the deal still stands, the same one that my father had offered you. Power, immortality, a promise that you won't seek revenge. You understand. Can you at least say something?" And Dream just says, "No." So, 19 years go by to 1968. So, Dream's been in prison now for 52 years. As we see, a bunch of people are starting to seek out Alex for enlightenment, as he tells them tales of yoga, tantric sex, astral travel, nothing really important. But the followers that come aren't allowed to use psychedelics in the house, because he's worried that the waking dreams could somehow empower his prisoner. As we check in on our sleeping patients, we can see that Ellie was moved to a hospital specializing in her condition. There are many people like her there, whose sands of time stopped flowing sometime half a century earlier. And we even see Daniel, who sleepwalks unspeaking through his world. He moves slowly, like a man wading through quicksand. To the nursing room staff, who like to pretend that Unity is awake. They wheel her from room to room with the other patients. Asleep, she watches television. Asleep, she relaxes in the sun. As we can see through Dream's eyes, there are always two guards in his room at all times. Coffee and amphetamines are freely available to all guards on duty, so they never sleep. And 2 years after that, in 1970, we see Alex standing at the grave of his father, where he had just handed over the reins of the organization to Paul, his longtime personal assistant. I mean, Paul doesn't really believe in magic, and he just really sees the money in the organization. But it does give Alex enough time to write memoirs about his father, letters to the newspaper defending his father's reputation, until one day he just slashes his father's portrait, and he won't read books anymore, except for one book. And it's not really just one book, it's one page, over and over again, as it's the one page where he finally found out who was captive downstairs. It was the Lord of Dream. So the years go on and on and on, and the people change, but Paul always stays in the background. From 1972, where Alex pleads with Dream to talk to them, he could tell them so many things, to 1978, where he questions Dream because Alex hasn't had a decent night of sleep in 60 years, questioning him, "Is it your fault?" I mean, his name's Dream, so yeah. To 1982, to where he started resorting to threats, telling him, "I could torture you, I could do it. Don't think I couldn't. I've killed people before." And finally, in 1988, so 72 years now, Dream has been imprisoned. We can see Alex, a much older Alex, telling him, "I hate you. I'm glad you're trapped in there. You're nothing special, nothing at all. Just a naked man in a glass box. That's all you are." As Dream tells him, "Soon." And unfortunately for Alex, when he's done with his rant and they go to wheel him away, one of the wheels on his wheelchair accidentally smudges the circle that's binding Dream. And as Paul wheels Alex away, both laughing, the guards start to talk amongst each other, thinking about their next vacations and how it is going to the beach. And Ernie sees any conversation as an invitation to tell tales about his sexual prowess. Frederick no longer listens. He's thinking about his holiday, and the Spanish beach becomes a tropical paradise. As Dream says, it begins. Ernie dreams of the sun, the sea, the sand, and the surf, and as we can see Dream's hand picking up sand, the guard says, "Oh Christ, what was that?" And when he snaps out of it, Dream is on the ground, and everybody's looking at him, thinking that he's might be dead. And they just start freaking out, because they don't know what the hell to do now. I mean, they think that people are going to start blaming them for it. I mean, they didn't really do anything. So they decide to go get Paul. And Paul says he's never done anything like this before, so maybe they should take a look at him. So Paul takes out the key and unlocks the door and goes in. And when everyone enters, Dream wakes up and grabs a fistful of sand and blasts them all to sleep. Then Dream opens up a mystical portal and vanishes, as Paul and the other guards wake up, not knowing at all where he went. And this is it. Dream is finally free, back and home in darkness. As he says, it feels so good to be back. He left the monarch, but yet he returns naked, alone, hungry. As he's weakened, he clutches for the first passing dream, his first food. In Mort Notkin's reoccurring dream, he goes to this swell party, but he's dressed as a clown. He thought it was a costume party, he didn't know. Everyone laughs at him. Marilyn, Elvis, even the Duke. It's weird though. This is the first time that a naked man has ever turned up to raid the buffet. Dreams. Go figure, right? Dream just snatches food and disappears back into darkness, thinking this is his first food in 70 years. He's so hungry he doesn't even taste it. First food, now he needs clothes. And even though he's still very weak, he can imagine the texture of fabric against his skin and sculpt them from dream space as he manifests black clothing with fire red at the bottom of his cloak. And as Dream continues on, he thinks that's 2 of 3. He has food, he has raiment. Now he needs the tools stolen from him by his former captor. And he will give it to him. And he will give him the other thing that Dream wants, revenge. And just like that, all over the world, people began to wake up. Even Ellie waking up in her specialized hospital, to some kids making fun of Daniel, telling him he's crazy, can't even talk. And Daniel finally responding saying, no, not anymore, he's not. To the nursing home gardens, where Unity Kincaid finally comes to herself again. She awakens just saying, my baby. I dreamed I had a baby. And just as Paul tries to call Alex to tell him something important, the nurse stops him to tell Paul that he's just got put down for his nap. And in Alex's dream, he's in a dark corridor where he only finds a candle for light. And a black cat that frightens him with its meow as he follows it up a winding staircase. This black cat leads him to the top of the stairs where it sits in the throne. And as Alex enters the room as his younger self, the cat transforms into Dream, where he welcomes Alex and questions him. Why aren't you talking? What's the matter? Cat, got your tongue? And Alex starts freaking out and just starts pleading and pleading that it wasn't him, it was his father that did it. But Dream just says, shh, your offenses are unpardonable. But can you have any idea what it was like? Confined in a glass box for that long? I mean, time moves no faster for him than it does for humanity. And in prison, it crawled at a snail's pace. He is the lord of this realm of dream and nightmare. And him and his father piped him down with that petty 2-penny spell. They barred him from his own realm with that foolish circle. They threatened and pleaded for gifts that mankind cannot receive, nor were dreams to give. I mean, they had no thought for the harm that they would bring the world by locking away Dream. And then he finally gives Alex a chance to explain himself, and Alex tells him it was all a mistake. They weren't trying to capture him. They were trying to capture death. And that's when Dream's just like, what? You guys wanted to capture death? Well, then count yourself lucky for the sake of your species and your petty planet that you did not succeed. That instead you snared Death's younger brother. I mean, for real, what do you think would have happened to the world if they actually captured Death? And Dream questions Alex, where are my tools? His pouch, his helm, his ruby, the things that they stole from him when he first arrived. But Alex tells him he has no idea. I mean, that stuff was stolen by the butler, Sykes, 50 years ago. They never saw it again. And with that information, Dream tells Alex that his punishment will now begin. He will grant him a gift to reward him for his years of hospitality. A gift of eternal waking. And Alex wakes up in terror, shouting, no! But Paul's there to calm him down, asking if he's all right. Alex just tells him, yeah, he just had a nightmare that the prisoner had escaped. And Paul tells him he has. He did. He's out, Alex. He checked out this morning. And Paul's face melts. But then Alex wakes up again, shouting, keep away from me! And his nurse there to calm him down again, telling him it was all a bad dream. There's no sense in getting all worked up, And he's still in a panic, telling her, God, oh God, it was terrifying, so real. Have you ever had one of those dreams, where you think you've woken up, but you haven't? It's just part of the nightmare and you're still in it? But the nurse's head falls off into the lap of Alex, saying, I can't say I have, dear, but you know what? I think you're going to be having quite a lot of them from now on, laughing. And as we can see, that took a little bit more out of Dream than he would have liked, but Alex will never return to the life he knew. His is the nightmare everlasting. That's what the eternal waking is. He will always be asleep, but having nightmares that he's waking up, believing that it's all real. Terrifying. Even the nurse and his friend Paul trying to wake him because she says he's normally a light sleeper. They don't know that he'll be asleep forever. And that brings us to the next chapter, Imperfect Hosts. So in the land of Dream, there's these two brothers, and one of them has a present for the other brother and asking him to open it, but the other brother's like, it's not my birthday. We don't even have birthdays. And you're just trying to trick me to kill me. But the brother's just like, why would I kill you? You know, we're brothers. And the other brother's like, because that's what you do. You're the kind of brother who kills me whenever he's mad or bored or just in a lousy mood. And just as they start to fight, there's a knock and a thud. So the two brothers storm downstairs to the front door where a creature is awaiting. And when they get to the front door, they start arguing about, is it Gregory out there, their pet, or is it something else that's big and nasty? But to be on the safe side, the older brother just shoves the younger brother out the door and says, you can open the door. And when he opens the door, they find out it is Gregory. And he's kind of big and bad and nasty in his own little way. But who does he have in tow with him? None other than the Prince of Stories, as both brothers are in shock that he's back, finally. And in his weakened state, the Prince of Stories asks the brothers for help. So Dream wakes up in darkness, too weak to even summon a light, as he asks where he is. The younger brother, who finally introduces himself as Abel, you know, from the very, very first story, The Victim. Dream tells him, oh, I do remember, I'm sorry, it's been a long time. Abel tells him about where they are and what had happened to him, how Gregory, you know, their gargoyle, found him out in the shifting zones, unconscious. And Dream tells Abel that he was on his way to the castle, but he was feeling weaker than he had ever felt before, and that's when Abel says, well, I'll go get my brother and tell him you're awake. He has made you some food. As Dream tries to piece together his memories before he awakened here, all he remembers is being too weak and exhausted to stumble through the fringes of Dreamtime, because that spell, that eternal waking that he used on Alex, pretty much used up all of his strength. He was trying to reach the gates of the castle, but he broke down and passed out along the way. That's when Gregory found him and brought him to Abel and Cain's house. And the older brother comes barging in with food, saying, good evening, your highness, Prince Morpheus. I've had some food for you. We'll get you back on your feet very soon. As he introduces himself as Cain, you know, the older brother from the first story. Dream questions them both if they have anything of his, anything that he's created. Cain tries to play it off and says, oh, no, I don't think I do. When his brother cuts him off, Abel says, yes, you do. Both of us do. We have the letters of commission, remember? As Cain gives him a glaring look, Dream tells them to both grab their letters and bring them to him. And of course, Abel's the first one to grab his. He says it's always on him. And as Dream takes it, he releases something he had created before the dawn of time itself. He reabsorbs the fragment of himself that he placed in it. And then he says, Cain, now it's your turn. But Cain kind of questions Dream, saying, where have you been for so long? What are you doing? And that's when Dream's like, where have I been? He tells him he's been imprisoned. As we cut to Arkham Asylum, to an old lady showing up. And she's here just to see her son. She says her son is imprisoned here under his name de crime of Dr. Destiny. She had been searching for him for over a decade. And although the doctors there say this is most unusual, they don't normally encourage visitors at Arkham Asylum. And it's most irregular. She stops him and says, look, Sonny, I'm 90 years old, and I've traveled over 8,000 miles to see my son, who I haven't seen in over a decade. I'm going to see him today, or I will let my attorneys know. So the doctors lead her downstairs, explaining to her that her son's dangerous. He's not the same that she probably remembers him as. He no longer sleeps, he no longer dreams in the normal sense of the word, and physically, he's quite debilitated. He's lost a lot of mass, a lot of stuff, and as they reach his cell, His mother asks, "John, is that you?" And he answers back in darkness, "Mother, I would have dreamed of you if I could dream. It's been a long time." And the mother questions, like, "What have they done to you? What have they done?" He emerges from the darkness, saying, "Mother, you look so old. Things are so strange these days. Mother, they took my dreams away from me." As we see, he's really, really in bad shape right now. And that's when the doctor says, "All right, Miss D, we gotta go. He's getting overexcited. You need to say your goodbyes." And with Dream feeling all better, he's off to continue his journey back to the castle. As Abel says, maybe we should have told him, about his castle and about what happened to Dreamtime. But Kane just tells him, why? He'll find out soon enough. Now open your present. Kane and Abel, man, the very first stories, they're so funny. And as Dream draws closer to his home, he can see the gates at the entrance. As he starts to reminisce about when he had first created those gates, the gates of horn and ivory. He carved them when he was much younger and the world needed order. The dreams that pass through the gates of ivory are lies, figments, and deception. The other admits the truth. No one guards the horned gate anymore. And once through the gates, he'll be able to see his castle. He'll be able to see his home. But when he passes through the gates, and he sees a world that's decaying, his castle that's crumbling. As someone says, "Breaks your heart, don't it, my lord?" And Dream turns to see that it's Lucian. As he questions what happened here, Lucian tells him that, "Dream, you are the incarnation of Dreamtime. And with you gone, the place began to decay, began to crumble. I mean, it was a slow process at first. The things in the dream world began to transmute." Lucian was aware of it in his library. Slowly, the words began to fade, and after a while, the books became just bound volumes of blank paper. And the next day, the library was completely gone, and Lucian never found it again. And Lucian goes on to say, "It's been a strange century. The Raven Woman has decayed badly. She lives only in nightmares now. A lot of the servants of Dream went back to the dream stuff that they were formed of. Brute and Glob vanished some years ago, and nobody knows where they are. And the fashion thing has been in many things. Flapper, mod, punk. She was a mad Madonna witch for a while. Last time he saw her, she was a mad yuppie witch. But that was a year ago." And Dream tells Lucian he's already encountered Cain and Abel. And Lucian tells him, yeah, those two. They've always disturbed me. But since he's been gone, they've been getting a lot worse. As we cut back to Abel and Cain, Abel opened his present and it was actually an egg inside. And that's when Cain tells him something has gone so wrong and it's been getting slowly stranger. And he's tried not to, do it so much to Abel. And as it hatches, we can see a beautiful gargoyle. As Abel says, "We'll call him Irving." And Cain's like, "Irving? Names for gargoyles always start with a G, like Gazpacho, Gormongo, Gladstone, and Gaiman." And Abel starts begging, "Please, please, Cain, no, stop, please." And we can see just Cain killed Abel for no reason, just because he wanted to call the gargoyle Irving. Funny. And Dream finally comes to the understanding that it's all gone. His whole castle, his whole domain, it's all gone. And even though some power returns to him simply by being there, he's put too much of himself in the tools that are now lost to him. As Lucian comes up with a great idea, the 3-in-1, they know so much, and if Dream is strong enough to summon them, they could help him. So, Dream agrees and asks Lucian to leave him as he begins the ritual. The dream world and the dream time, the unconscious, call it what you will, is a part of Dream as much as he is a part of it. And for the first time since his return, and for the first time in over 70 years, really, he reaches out with his substance to shape the world. He gets the crossroads from a Cambodian farmer, from his dreams of a new ox cart. The gallows come from a young Japanese movie buff, her head rolling from a surfeit of old Hammer horror films. The honey, the snakes, the crescent moon, all these are easy to find. But a black she-lamb is more difficult, but one dances in the dreams of a child at Adelaide, Australia. So, Dream takes it to set the scene. But, still, the set is incomplete. Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos would come for less than this, but he needs a boon, because the three were fickle, and he sees it there. Dully, the church bells echo and clang in the loneliness of dark 12 times. It's midnight. It is the time of the witching hour. And here they come, the one who is three, the we who is they, the Hecate, as three women magically appear. And Dream welcomes them in, as they all say, "Oh, you look thin. Have you been eating properly? It's been a long time." But the last sister says, he wants something. And as Dream says, "Lady Atropos, you have found me out. I do want something." As the witch says, "Atropos, no, you might as well call me Morrigan." And the middle sister says, she's right. My ducks might as well call us Tisiphone, Electo, and Magera. And that takes us back, eh? As the last witch says, might as well call us Diana, Mary, and Florence. Sorry. But Dream tells them, for him, they'll always be the three graces. And they just say, he's just a flatterer. But he questions, what should I call you now? And the first witch starts by saying she is Cynthia. And on the right is Mildred, and in the middle is Mordred. Stupid name, it ought to be Morgan, but Mildred got all the names confused. So Dream starts out by telling them all why he summoned them there. That his tools were stolen from him. The tools that he administered to establish the very realm that he lives in. They are lost to him, and he needs their help to get him back. As they question, why should they help him when he didn't help them against the Cirque? Dream tells them, it doesn't matter. This is his realm. It has laws, old laws. And the beings in the world conform to the laws. Just as those three have to conform to the laws that they are bound by. I mean, could one exist without the other two? They are bound by their law to at least give him an answer. As they agree, saying, one answer then. One answer from each of them. So, he begins with his first question. Saying, Maiden, there was a pouch of sand. It was stolen from me. And she tells him, an Englishman, John Constantine. He was the last to purchase your pouch. As Dream questions, does he still have it? She tells him, one question, one answer. Those are the rules, my lord. So he goes on to the next one, with his next question. Allmother, my helm, what happened to it? She tells him, it was traded with a demon. Many years ago, long gone from the mortal plane. And he questions which demon. She tells him, one question, my honeysuckle, and one answer. So, he moves on to his third and final question. Saying, my stone, my dreamstone, my ruby moonstone, who has that now? As the last witch says, your gem passed through a mother to a son who tapped its dream magics for his own end, until it and his dreams were then taken away from him by the superhumans. Ask the Justice League about the present whereabouts, as Dream questions, but where? No. That's right. One answer, only one answer, I know. Thank you, weird sisters. So now at least he knows where everything is. Constantine. We knew that Sykes traded the helm for the amulet of protection when he ran off with the mistress. I didn't know that the Justice League were involved with the whole amulet. So that'll be fun. And with all his questions being answered, the three witches vanish. As he thanks them, they tell him, why are you thanking us? They didn't help you. His troubles are just beginning. As they vanish, he thinks, this will be an uphill quest for sure, because he has some answers, but he really doesn't know any locations of anything. As we quickly cut back to Abel, because he's been dead for a couple hours now, but he was starting to feel a little bit better. And as he climbs his way to the top of the pit, even the pain feels better than the cold of death, and it was a long way back up, but he's still alive. So, with so much things that have changed since Dream was ripped to earth from his home, he thinks, what does he get first? He's not really strong enough to go up against the hordes of hell. Not yet, anyway. So he decides to go to Earth. But what first, the ruby or the pouch? And since he doesn't know much about this Justice League, more than humans is all he really knows, he decides that the Englishman, John Constantine, who has the pouch, or at least knows where it is, he would be the one to go after. After all, he's just human. He's just one man. What could possibly go wrong? Clearly, he doesn't know who John Constantine is. And back at Kane's house, we see Abel sitting on the steps with the now named Goldie gargoyle. I mean, he's called him Goldie, but he still thinks of him as an Irving, really. Abel's telling him of a story of two brothers. They loved each other very much, and they were always nice to each other. Nice, kind, and brotherly. And the older brother would never hurt the younger brother. Never. And they lived together in the same house. And they were very happy. I'm sorry. I'm not crying. I'm really not crying. As he says, it's only blood, little brother. Only blood. Literally crying blood. He dies all the time. It's tragic. Story of Cain and Abel. And that brings us to Dream a Little Dream of Me. So we start out in a random place with a random house and a random lady. And her nipples are hard and dark and shrunken on breasts like empty pouches. Her hair comes out in clumps when she moves, so she tries not to move too much. Her skin is flaking, infected and inflamed. Bed sores cover her back and legs. Her fingernails grew long and brittle. Then they broke off. The ragged nails rip her skin when she scratches. Her stomach shrank, then bloated, then it shrank again. Hunger subsided to a low nagging in the back of her mind. It's okay. It goes away. Like the pain goes away. Like everything goes away when the dream comes. She feels reality ebbing back. She'll wait. Delay the pleasure. Delay the dreams. Will she dissolve it in her mouth? Breathe it? Rub it into her skin? It doesn't matter. She's counting to 100. 96, 97, 98. As we can see her frail old hand reaching into a bag of sand. As we cut to an alarm blaring, as a hand reaches over and stops it and grabs a pack of cigarettes to smoke, we can see it's none other than John Constantine sitting in bed. As John's getting ready to head out, he starts thinking it just seems like one of those days where someone or something is trying to tell you something, going over a nightmare that he just had about these things with faces like appendectomy scars were crocheting his intestines into body bags for the blind and dead. Truly creepy stuff. But he tries to put that all behind him as he's leaving. He steps out of the door to a raining London as he says, "Hello, London." So, John heads to a diner to grab some food, where he asks for cheeseburger, 2 mugs of coffee, and 5 pennies for the jukebox, where he wanted to play I Heard It Through the Grapevine, but what actually starts playing is a song of sweet dreams and the Sandman. As John says to himself, something trying to tell me somebody, before he's interrupted by a homeless lady pounding on the window of the diner, as we see that John knows her as Heidi. And when he goes outside to talk to Heidi, she's freaking out, saying, he's back. Morpheus, the one romancer, the Sandman, he's back. As John doesn't really believe her, he's like, oh, that's just a fairy tale that they tell kids, you know? But she keeps on insisting, saying that she's been alive for 247 years and she knows he's back. John walks away thinking, it's funny, she really is 247 years old. The Sandman, huh? He supposes he'll have to look into that. So we cut back to the house at night, where we see an investment counselor by day breaking into the house, because at night they play this game for sport where they break into people's houses while they're still at home. And this guy kind of just thinks of this as contribution to the free market economy. But as soon as he steps into that house, he just starts dreaming. He can feel the warm tightness of her skin. The scent of sex is heavy in the air. Her lips taste of roses and passion as he holds her closer like his life depended on it. This is too good. Too good to be true. As in another dream, he's hitting 150 in a Lamborghini of his dream. Everybody's green with envy. The acceleration goes on forever. To Jesus, he's dying for them, and they love him. He's pure and perfect, and he's dying for their sins. He can see his parents, his boss, his lovers, in the crowd below him. They're sorry now. Sorry they treated him so badly because he's the son, the last son of a dead planet. Strongest man in the world. He can do anything. Anything. Absolutely anything. And back with Constantine, trying to figure out what's going on. Who's trying to tell him something? As he walks through his door, he's greeted with Dream. As Dream says, John Constantine, I presume. Constantine just drops all the books and papers he was holding. And Dream questions Constantine, telling him, you've come into possession of something of mine, a leather pouch full of sand, and he wants it back. But Constantine tells him, like, yeah, that pouch, he had it a couple years ago. He bought it in a garage sale in San Francisco. He knew it was powerful stuff, but he never even managed to get the drawstring open. As Dream questions him, where is it now? Constantine tells him, it's been ages. It's probably locked up with the rest of his stuff. As Dream just says, well, let us retrieve it then. Constantine tells him, I'm not going to go anywhere dressed with you like that. I mean, he has dead people living in his cloak. That's crazy. He's got an awesome outfit. I don't know why. But Dream just manifests a coat and it's just like, oh, is this better? Constantine tells him that, oh, I should introduce you to a big green bloke. You'd like him. He hasn't got a sense of humor either. Referencing the Hulk. So they show up to storage and just start looking. But it goes on for 2 hours. And Dream is just like, it's not here. I don't believe it's here. If it were here, Dream would be able to feel it. It is a part of him. And Constantine asks, how did you lose this pouch of yours anyway? And that's when Dream tells him it was stolen from him by a man called Burgess. And of course, Constantine knows him as the Daemon King and says that Dream must be a lot older than he looks. And when one of the box falls down, as Constantine's picking it up, he finds a picture where he says, boss, I think I know where your pouch is. So Dream and Constantine grab a taxi and they're off. As the taxi driver asks Constantine if he could stop to grab a bit of tea, Dream tells him no. And the driver just says, I know I owe you, John, but this is kind of pushing it. And Dream just interrupts saying, drive us, Mr. Chaz, and you will be rewarded. And the driver just says, Chaz is fine. Mr. What do I call you, John? What do I call this guy? And John just says, you don't call him. His kind just kind of turn up out of the blue. They call you. So they ride in silence on the way to this house as Constantine starts remembering Rachel, amazing Rachel, a junkie Rachel. They used to live together in a high-rise flat in East Croton. He even went to Alaska for 6 months over the lupus affair. And when he got back, she was gone. Along with his stereo, his telly, his Silver Surfers, any old junk that she could convert into money. And she's long since converted that money into junk. As he says, that stupid bitch. Sometimes he still misses her. That's how it goes, unfortunately. But he also thinks he wish he kind of had realized that she nicked the pouch as well. So they finally pull up to the house. And that's where Constantine gets out and says, well, we'll ask her dad. He's living these days. He'll know where to find her. He's a retired air pilot. A nice man. He'll get the bag back. But Dream cuts him off saying the pouch is here. He knows. And even more than that, the whole house is dangerous. As Constantine tells the driver Chaz to stay in the car, roll up the windows, and lock the doors. And if anything happens, any side of trouble, take off. Because his missus hates Constantine already. Let's not give her a reason to, huh? So as they're walking up to the door, Constantine's thinking about how Rachel was always playing with the pouch. And kept going on about him trying to open it. I mean, she'd even ask, what's the point of having something magic if you don't use it? But Constantine always knew the reason. He just knew that she wouldn't understand. As he tries the door and it's locked, bolted, and alarmed, he says, why don't we go around back? Maybe he could smash a window. But Dream says, no, we're going through the front, and just flicks his hand and opens the door. And as they step into this house, Constantine starts thinking it has a very strange smell to it. Kind of like when he worked as an undertaker. All the flesh and formaldehyde. It's a weird memory to have. And Dream says, Constantine, this place is not safe for you. Things are free in this house that should not be loose, even on Earth. You must stay here. But, I mean, it's John Constantine. He's like, nah, I'll stick around. I'm intrigued. Plus, he was fond of Rachel at one point. You could even say that she was the girl of his dreams for a while. They both walk in the house, and Constantine notices that the electricity's been cut off. There's 6 months of mail left on the door. Like, what's happening here? And Dream says, watch out for the human on the floor. As Constantine lights his lighter, looking at the floor, and there's the guy that had just broken in a couple pages before, lying there on the ground, dazed. As he questions Dream, Dream says he's alive, but he is being eaten by dreams. And if you need light, Constantine, here. And he creates a bright light, illuminating the area around them. As Constantine is thinking, I've been out of my depths before. Something tells me there are sharks in these depths, and he ought to be running away. But all he keeps thinking about is Rachel. And he keeps thinking about old movies. Old dark house, horrible menace on the loose, and the whole let's split up and muffled screams in the darkness. As he actually asks Dream, like, oh, we're gonna stick together, aren't we? And Dream says, of course. As they walk into the next room, Constantine feels for a light switch, but when he turns it on, it's covered in something wet. And not just that, as Constantine instantly starts plummeting down through clouds to a solid ground below. It looks really real, and it's a long way to fall, and Constantine is falling. And he falls and falls as he keeps thinking, how did I get here? The memory starts to fill in. He was on a plane that was on fire and he jumped. He was the pilot. No. A passenger then. But he doesn't want to die. He doesn't want to fall. But he just tries to tell himself, the falling doesn't hurt. It's when you stop. As Dream just yells, Constantine! And rips him out of the air and drags him back up to the house. As he reassures John, you're here. John's just, oh, so real. You were there too. A dream. It must have only been a dream. As Dream tells him, it was never only a dream, John Constantine. Here, especially less than some other places. As he gives him more light so he can see. We can see the whole entire house is covered with some weird stuff. And as he questions Dream, like, what is it? Dream tells him, this is a human body, or what's left of it. Your woman's father is what he would best guess. And John even noticed, like, it's still alive. And Dream says, yeah, that's right. And Constantine questions, how? Dream just tells him, this is the pouch's work. This is what it does. As they walk to the end of the hall. To the next hall that has literally just a bunch of faces and people poking out, telling them to leave here. Leave her. Leave the woman. She's ours. Do not disturb her. As Dream just interrupts, saying, let us through. The things on the wall start to question, who said that? Who spoke? Not him. Never him. All gone. Long gone. Dream interrupts and says, this has gone on far enough. You have exceeded your bounds. As they finally recognize him as their master. And they all cower away, saying, Master, do not, sorry, chastise, destroy, sorry, Master. As they just continue walking through, John questions, Dreams, right? And Dream says, yeah, right. Constantine questions him, asks even further, are you really their master? And Dream tells him, yeah. And Constantine says, I thought so. As they walk through the last door to the bedroom that literally smelled terrible, like sewers, morgues, garbage, all wrapped into one, as a lonely voice whispers out, hello? John walks in saying, Rachel. She recognizes the voice as John saying, is that you? I've had such a wonderful dream. Dream, dream, dream. Whenever I want to. All I have to do is dream. As we can see, she's really in bad shape. Sores and everything all over her body, just laying there. And Constantine's just shocked, lighting another cigarette, remembering the beautiful lady that he used to have a relationship with. Dream comes over and takes the pouch and tells them that the dreams will return to their proper location in time, and that now they can go. But Rachel calls out, the bag, my bag, but it's not my bag, it hurts. Constantine tells him, you can't leave her like this. Dream tells him, why not? Her metabolism's gone. The only thing keeping her alive was the sand. I mean, she's gonna die soon, and very painfully, he would imagine. And that was it. Constantine heard enough. He said, I said you bloody can't leave her here like this. As she's literally lying there, dying. Dream tells Constantine, very well, go wait outside. As Constantine leaves, wishing Rachel sweet, sweet dreams. So Dream takes a handful of sand out of the pouch and sprinkles it over Rachel's face, where all the flesh flows back into her bones again. And she knows he's waiting for her as in her dream she sees John again, and they walk away on the sunset of a beach, hand in hand, as she slowly drifts away and dies, as Dream puts a cover over her. And outside, John starts to ask Dream, well, and Dream tells him she's dead. And John asks, did she, and Dream tells her, no, she died peacefully. She died happy. And John questions him, now that you have your sandbag back, where will you go now? And Dream tells him, to hell. And John smiles and says, hey, aren't we all, mate? Aren't we all? He's gonna go wake up Chaz and have a quick smoke, and then they got some work to do, huh? But Dream just disappears, saying, goodbye, Constantine. But Constantine stops him, saying, hang on, wait a minute. And he tells Dream, I know you don't owe me any favors or anything like that. And he doesn't want to be in anyone's debt. And Dream just says, spit it out, what are you asking? Constantine tells him that ever since Newcastle, the last 10 years, he's been having nightmares, bad ones, most nights. And he kind of wondered if... Dream stops him and says, yeah, I understand. Very well. As John just thanks him and walks away singing the Sandman song. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. So that brings us to A Hope in Hell. And now, for the 100th time since he regained it, he's reached into his pouch and he just touches the sand, sifts it through his fingers, feels each grain of it, inexhaustible, endless, like Dream and others of his kind, endless. And tonight he feels alone. I mean, he's always been solitary, but here on the nightward shores of Dream, loneliness washes over him in waves, lapping and pulling at his spirit. And as he sprinkles sand into the waters of night, the grains burn as they fall, as he knows it's now time for him to walk the abyss. Time for him to reclaim his own. He knows now he must talk to Morningstar. As he says, I do not have high hopes for this meeting. And he takes a few steps and walks off the pier as he falls into darkness. The wind that blows between the worlds chills him as he falls. As he thinks, what if he fails? What if he cannot bluff a demon as he bluffed the errant dreams of Constantine? But he does have his pouch now, the pouch of sand, and that gives him a little bit of power that he had. As he reaches the gates of hell, he thinks he has hope. As he stands there, alone and afraid in the naked space at the gates of hell, he rings the gong as a doorbell. And a headless man's head answers, saying, yes, there is one at the door, Lord Squatterbloat. Squatterbloat just says, is it thief, thug, or whore? Who's at the door? And Dream even greets him, saying, I am here to talk to your master. Take me to him immediately. And this demon says, yes, my clown. And who might you be? As Dream tells him, I have many names, but I am the king of dreams, of the nightmare realm. I seek Lord Lucifer, the Lord of Hell. And this demon actually questions, so where's your crown? And Dream tells him a demon has stolen it, and he's come back to hell to reclaim it. And the demon even questions, yes, clown. You're new in town, so where is your ruby? And Dream's had enough of these insults. And he grabs this demon by the face and says, I will take no insults from you, little demon. Guard your tongue. Lucifer will not be kind to the one who insults an honored guest. And I am a guest in this realm, as I am monarch of my own. And tosses this demon to the side. As someone else steps in, telling Squatterbloat to go back to his gate. He'll guide him to Lucifer. As we see, it's none other than Etrigan, the demon himself. And even Dream recognizes him, saying, Etrigan, yes, Merlin's demon, the half-man. I remember you. So, you're a rhymer now. You've risen in Hell's hierarchy, I see. And Etrigan tells him, yeah, things have changed. Things have changed on Earth and on Hell. And even asks Dream if he's changed. And Dream tells him he's been absent for some time, but changed? Perhaps. I think he kind of has. As they continue on toward Lucifer, Dream notices that the Woods of Suicide has changed since the last time he had visited Hell. He remembers it as like a tiny little grove, but now it kind of resembles a huge forest, as he now realizes Hell is changing. And they continue on their journey, passing through souls entombed in pity, as Dream's thinking, you can never really trust a demon. they always have 100 reasons for what they do, and 99 of them are malevolent. As one of the people locked up recognizes Dream, saying, "Dream, my lord, I hoped one day you would come to free me." As Dream says, "I greet you, Nada. It pains me to see you like this." As Nada pleads out, "Free me, your lord. You ordered me confined here. Your forgiveness can free me." But Dream walks away, saying, "I implore you." And Nada breaks down crying, pleading with Dream, saying, "Don't you love me?" And Dream turns, saying, "It has been 10,000 years, Nada. Yes, I still love you, but I have not yet forgiven you." So onward they continue. And for the rest of the trip, they don't really talk to each other until they get to Lucifer's palace, where Dream noticed this too has changed. Last time he was here, he was an envoy from his own kingdom. But this time he kind of lacks power. He lacks the symbols of office. But still, he is Dream, and the palace doors do open for him. As they travel past the summit, past the halls with screams and grunts and sighs and dust, upstairs that run with sweet blood, to the top of his mansion, where he awaits alone, as Dream greets Lucifer Morningstar as he walks in. And Lucifer greets Dream back and asks Etrigan to leave. As he starts to tell Dream, he had heard he had been caught by mortals. That they expected better of him, that he was just like some newly hatched demon. And has he come now to join forces with Hell, to ally his realm with theirs, to acknowledge the sovereignty of Hell? As Dream just tells him, "You know my views on that." Lucifer just says, "Okay, what is it then? What have you come here for?" Lucifer just says, "Okay then, what is it? What do you want?" Dream tells him his helm was stolen from him by one of the demons, and he wants it back, now. But Lucifer tells Dream that it's not that simple. Things have changed in Hell since last he was there. And Dream questions him, saying, "What has changed? Are you no longer the ruler of this realm? Do the demons no longer follow your rule?" As they're interrupted by a fly that says, "But they do, Morpheus. Lucifer is no longer sole monarch of Hell either." As Lucifer introduces the co-monarch of Hell, Beelzebub, the Lord of the Flies. As Dream questions, there are now two people running Hell? The Lord of Flies says, "No, it's 3 demons running Hell now." And Lucifer says Azazel will join them shortly. He's the 3rd Lord of Hell. And kind of breaks down of what happened, saying, "Some years ago, the Dark, the shadow creature, came forth to challenge heaven. The episode ended in perhaps a stalemate, but the civil war that ensued zipped the balance of power. So now they rule in correlation with each other, Azazel, Beelzebub, and Lucifer." And Azazel comes in saying, "3 kings in darkness, I am Azazel. Welcome, Dream King." As Dream says, "Yeah, things have changed indeed. 3 rulers of Hell." And goes on to say he seeks a demon who stole his helm, and he wishes it back. As the 3 rulers of Hell question him, "Which demon? Name it, and we'll bring it here." There are more than 1,000,000 demons after all. And Dream says, "Actually, I don't really know the demon's name." So Lucifer says, "Then let us summon all of them and meet them of the vasty plains of Hell." So that's exactly what they did. They brought millions of demons down to Hell to question. As Lucifer asks Dream, "So tell us, which demon has your helmet?" I mean, there's a ton of demons. I have no idea how he's going to find it. And as Dream is looking out at all of these demons, I mean, some he recognizes from nightmares, others have passed through the dream world. I mean, there's a ton of them. But this helm, I mean, it's technically a part of him. He can feel it. It is one of his tools. As he grabs sand from his pouch, and it whirls down into the crowd, surrounding one demon in particular, as they point out that one. And I mean, this demon looks kind of funny. 2 mouths, pink, spiked out hair, head, don't know. As Lucifer says, "Chronozone, a Duke of Hell, one of Beelzebub's." And he even questions him, "Well, Chronozone, is Dream telling the truth? Do you have his helm?" And this demon actually says, "What if I have the helm?" And Lucifer instantly says, "You cannot talk to us that way. Answer us. Do you have this helm?" And he just says, yes, Lord, I do. And Dream just demands it back, saying, return it to me now. But the demon just says, I traded it from a mortal for a paltry thing. But it was a fair trade, so he's broken no laws of hell. If he wanted it back, he would have to fight him for it. I mean, Dream kind of saw this coming. That's why he didn't go into hell to begin with, I assume. I mean, even Dream's thinking to himself, a challenge, he doesn't know if he's strong enough right now. But he does accept the challenge, and he doesn't really have a choice. So, the demon kicks off. He challenged him, so he gets to choose the battlefield. He gets to assert reality. So with that, lights, camera, action, as Coronzone welcomes them, ladies and gentlemen. Thrill-packed. Welcome to another thrill-packed evening of fun here at the Hellfire Club. He's in a tuxedo and everything, so he even says, I am your host, Coronzone, High Duke of the Eighth Circle, Captain of the Horde of Lord Beelzebub. And tonight for entertainment, a formal challenge. And since he is the one who was challenged, he gets to set the meter, and he gets to take the first move. And he even introduces the challenger, Dream, once the master of the realm of sleep. Wow. As he says, let's give a big hand for Mr. Sandman. I do love the song. And as Dream walks up to the stage, he thinks to himself, it has been a long time since he was forced to play such games with demons. I mean, the Hellfire Club kind of feels like a bad joke. And like everything else in hell, it's deadly serious. So, the rules are, if Dream wins, he gets his helmet back. But if he loses, then he gets to spend an eternity in hell as their slave. So, with that, Chronozon has the first move. As he says, I am a dire wolf, prey stalking, lethal prowler. Now it's Dream's move. Dream says, I am a hunter, horse mounted, wolf stabbing. And Dream can smell the spilt alcohol, stale smoke and cheap sex, perfume and mold, and he feels the grass beneath the earth of his hooves. The flanks between his legs. All is real, nothing is real. Now it's Chronozone's move. As Chronozone says, I am a horsefly, horse stinging, hunter throwing. So there's a couple different ways that you can lose this game. Failure of nerve, hesitation, being unable to shift into a defensive shape, or lack of imagination, As Dream says, I am a spider fly, consuming, eight-legged. So Coronzone says, I am a snake, spider devouring, poison-toothed. And Dream says, I am an ox, snake crushing, heavy-footed. And Dream can feel the snake wreath beneath his hoof, its spine crushed. As Coronzone says, I am an anthrax, butcher bacterium, warm, life destroying. As Dream thinks, a change in direction, but still an old gambit. He thinks he starts to understand how Coronzone is playing, and he thinks he can turn it against him. So his plan is to abandon the offense, as he says, I am a world, space floating, life nurturing. And that kind of got the attention of Lucifer as he looks up, and Coronzone says, I am a nova, all exploding, planet cremating, literally just destroying everything. So Dream says, I am the universe, all things encompassing, all life embracing. The demon laughs and says, I am anti-life, the beast of judgment. I am the dark at the end of everything, the end of universes, gods, worlds, of everything. And everybody in the Hellfire Club is shocked. As he turns to Dream and questions him, and what will you be then, Dream Lord? And Dream just says, I am hope. Like, mic drop, bro, like, crazy. I mean, even Coronzone is just like, then I am, I don't know. He had no comeback for that. I mean, demons don't know hope. And the three demon kings step in, saying, where are the twins? Where are agony and ecstasy? As two white beings appear and capturing Chronozone, as Lucifer tells them to take this pathetic creature from their sight, and to demonstrate to him their displeasure. And they just say, they hear him and obey him, my lord. As Coronzone just pleads out, King Beelzebub, my liege, my lord, please protect me. But it's over. And with that, Dream gets his helm back. As he thanks the kings of hell, they are truly honorable, and he will remember this. As Lucifer laughs, honorable? Surely, you joke. I mean, look around him. I mean, Dream's kind of surrounded by millions of demons now, and Lucifer questions him, helmet or no, you have no power here. What power do dreams have in hell? Why should we let you leave? But Dream walks up and stands before everyone, and you say I have no power. Perhaps you speak truly. But you say that dreams have no power here? And questions Lucifer Morningstar. Ask yourselves, ask all of you, what power would hell have if those here imprisoned were not able to dream of heaven? I mean, Dream is dropping knowledge bombs on all these demons, so, I mean, of course, silently, they move aside, unable to meet his gaze as he walks through them. With his helm at his side as he leaves hell, his hopes fulfilled, but Lucifer says, one day, my brothers, one day, I shall destroy him. I don't know why Lucifer has it out for Dream, but that's kind of interesting. So we cut to a quick epilogue where Destiny, you guys remember, Destiny, who was locked up in the basement, gets some bad news that unfortunately his mother died. But she left him something, as he says, thank you, mother. It's just what I always wanted. It looks like an eye pendant, or a demon's amulet. So that brings us to Passengers. And back at Arkham Asylum, Destiny is finally escaping, as we see that it's actually on April 1st. That he's sneaking by all the guards unnoticed. Where he slips through a cell where one of the cellmates is hanging. Literally hanging. But we find out it's actually the Scarecrow, who's just trying to play a practical joke on the doctors that come check on him and scare him when they come. And questions Destiny like, shouldn't you be locked up downstairs? But Destiny tells him that his mother died, and she left with him an amulet that will protect him. And that now that he has it, he can break out and he can go get his ruby back and make the world right. And that Scarecrow just says, that sounds scary. You'll have to promise to tell me when you get back. And Destiny tell him, you don't understand. I'm not coming back. Scarecrow tells him, they always come back here. It's so scary outside. And that if he saw the Joker out there, tell him to hurry back because it isn't April Fool's Day without his little jokes. But Scarecrow's kind of doing his best as he left another little prank next door. As Destiny sees, it's just one of the other guards hanging with a sign on him that says, kick me. Destiny says, yes, I see it. It's very funny. Bye-bye. And he escapes out the window to an alleyway where he stops a car and jumps in and points a gun at the lady's face who's driving, telling her that he's gonna go find his ruby. And to just keep driving and he'll tell her where to stop. And to trust him. He's a doctor. So we cut to somebody's dream, and kind of a nightmare, really, because no matter as far as they run, as fast as they run, it's just Armageddon, and it always leads back to Granny. And happiness is the heart that's Granny's. I mean, you'd want to rip your heart out for Granny, because Granny loves you, and Granny loves this kid. She loves him so much that she encases his feet in concrete and binds him in chains. She wraps him tight with her love, and her voice ties him tight with steel and granite. I mean, he has been a bad little boy. He said bad things before he left, and this, unfortunately, is what they do to bad little boys. They put them in the murder machine. But, luckily, he escapes, leaving the coffin behind him. He sidesteps through knives, leaps through the flames. A bomb explodes, but he's too quick. The floor vanishes beneath him, but he doesn't fall into the vat of acid beneath, as he clings to the wall. And he finally reaches the room, the exit, the box. It's the last trap. Somehow he knows that. The last exit. All he has to do is enter his name, his real name, and the door will open and he will be scot-free. As he sees Zeep and Bravo and Well Done hung in warning, lowlies who never escaped the Armageddon, black blood of the bygone decade crusted on their necks. Jeez. Your name, they say. Tell us your name and we'll let you go. And he even sees Orelai hangs there. Sweet Orelai, his first love, her feet burned away, and her eyes churning with maggots. I mean, what does he call her now? What do I call you? she used to ask him. Not scot-free. Scot-free was just Granny's joke, as everyone questioned what his name was, but he doesn't know, so he's probably gonna die. And as he falls into nothingness, Dream catches him, saying, "It's over, child. You can wake up now." And he wakes up in his room, disoriented and confused. I mean, for a moment there, he didn't even know where he was. But Dream is sitting there as he questions, Who are you? What are you doing?" Dream tells him, "You want a name, scot-free? I am a friend. I have come to reclaim something of mine, a ruby." So I guess he goes by scot-free, but he doesn't know his real name. And back on the road, Destiny's still giving this lady directions. And she finally just turns to him and yells at him, telling him, "Listen here, you buster, I'm warning you. If you try anything, if you even lay a hand on me, my husband's a mafia hitman and he'll kill you." But he just points the gun even more towards her, and she just looks straight and saying, "Oh God, forgive me." And Destiny actually apologizes, saying, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, it's just that, sorry." And she questions, "Are you escaping from prison?" And that's when he tells her, "No, he's not escaping from prison. It was a madhouse. It was Arkham Asylum." And she just says, "Jesus." And that's when he tells her that his mother died last week, and that's when he knew it was time that he had to get away. He had to get out of that place. And she questions him, "Why aren't you wearing anything?" And he says they took his clothes because they were scared that he would try to kill himself with it. Shirts, pants, anything. And she questions him, "Aren't you cold?" And he says, "Yes, very cold." And she offers up one of her husband's coats that she has in the back seat. And he says, "A coat? That's very nice of you. I'd like to wear a coat. Thank you." So Dream and Scott Free are looking through the Justice League's old database, looking for anything that could lead them to his ruby. And Scott Free actually found it. He says it was taken from a psycho calling himself Dr. Destiny. He was using it to affect people's dreams, making nightmares real. That kind of thing. But he does know it was on the trophy room on the satellite, the space station that the Justice League have. And Dream questions, "Where's the satellite?" "His ruby." And Scott Free tells him, it's space junk. Ruby's probably either destroyed, or they could have moved it to the Detroit Fortress or the Secret Sanctuary, or... And Dream just says, "You don't know where it is." And Scott Free is just like, "Yeah, I have no clue." But Dream knows somebody must know. Scott Free starts to think, let me see. Batman? No, it's 3:30 a.m. He'll be at work. Who else was in the old JLA? And that's when he gets it. He's like, "All right, let's go wake him up." So back on the road, the lady finally introduces herself as Rosemary. And Destiny says, "Rosemary, that's for remembering." As she questions, "What should I call you?" He tells her, "I used to call myself Destiny, Dr. Destiny." It wasn't his real name. His mother called him John. Johnny Boy, Dream Boy. He was a real doctor, though. Not a medical one, a scientist. But now people just call him just Dr. D or John or D. And she tells him that she's got food in the back seat if he's hungry, but he just says no, he's not hungry. He's never really hungry anymore. And by looking at John and how frail and weak he looks, she questions him, saying, "I'm a nurse. You can tell me." It won't freak her out. "Is it the big A?" And he's like, "What big A?" She says, "AIDS?" And he says, "Helpers?" She's like, "No, AIDS, the disease. Is that why you look the way you do? Where have you been the last 5 years?" And he tells her, locked up in darkness in the maximum security cell in the basement of Arkham. He tells her that they put him there and they forgot about him. And she questions him, "Who is they are you talking about? Like, are they the police?" And she questions him even more, "Did you kill people?" And John tells her that no, he did foolish things. Things to gravity, to identity. He traded their faces with their enemies. He pretended he was one of their number. And she questions who. He tells her it was the costumes, the heroes, the Justice League of America. And she says, yeah, I remember them. They've changed now. They're international. They got embassies and stuff like that now. Now they're called the JLI. And John just says, as you say, it was a long time ago. So, with a knock on the door, none other than the Martian Manhunter answers. As he says, "Scott, do you know what time it is? Is this important?" Scott Free interrupts him and says, "Yeah, I know it's early, John, but you're the only member of the old JLA who's still around, and we've got a visitor." As John's just shocked and just says, "You," and bows down and saying, "Lord, I greet you humbly. May you guard us in the darkness and on the pathway between waking hours, and protect us in the dreams from the flame of your wrath." And Dream is kind of surprised. A Martian. He kind of thought their kind was gone. As this is the last of the Martians, he is the last Martian manhunter. So Dream questions him. "I seek a ruby, last Martian. It was known to your kind as the Stone of Binding. It was taken from a human, kept as a souvenir. Where is it now?" And Scott tells him it was with the old trophies that the JLA had, and that's when John says that stuff's in storage, but he thought it'd be nice to put some of it on display, so he put it in a warehouse in upstate Gotham, a little town called Mayhew, and offers to get them the exact address. But Dream says there's no need of that. "I thank you, last Martian. If you wish, you may dream of your homeland tonight." And he thanks both of them, He thanks Scott Free and tells him that he hopes you find your name as he disappears. And Scott Freeskill has no idea what just happened. He asks Martian Manhunter, "Who was that?" And Martian Manhunter tells him it was an old god, a very old god, and tells Scott Free to come in the kitchen because he has a secret stash of Oreos that he's welcome to partake in. So back on the road, John starts telling Rosemary about why he became a criminal and about his name, how his mother told him to change his name if he was going to start running around and doing criminal stuff. So the D he came up with stands for lots of things. It could mean death, could mean dust, darkness, demons, destruction, anything really. And that's when Rosemary tells him that, yeah, she agrees with his mom. If any of her two children started running around committing all these heinous crimes, she would tell them to change their names too. And John tells Rosemary that he's a hermetic philosopher and a scientist too, like truly. Because if he wasn't a scientist, then he couldn't have done what he did to the ruby. And asks her, "Do you know what dreams are made of, Rosemary?" And she just says, "Made of? They're just dreams, aren't they?" And that's when John says, "No, they aren't. People think dreams aren't real because they aren't made up of matter, of particles. Dreams are real, but they are made up of viewpoints, of images, of memories, and puns, and lost hopes." And he goes on saying the ruby seems to turn them into matter. It forces them to translate themselves into forms which we can recognize in this world. It also controls dreams in their raw state. Your dreams, anybody's dreams. And he doesn't know where his mom got the ruby from, but she also had that lucky charm, and she wouldn't give that up while she lived. So he built machines that the ruby powered. Then he built the machines in his dreams, but they stopped him from dreaming, so he had to use the ruby directly. And he even coded circuitry in its clasps. He changed its resonance. He radiated it. He forced flaws. He isolated it from its original power source, whatever, whoever that was. He made it more real. He changed it. It isn't a real ruby anymore. It's a solid dream. It's the only dream he has. Nobody else can use it anymore. Nobody but him. And they're so close to it now. He wants to dream. And they're so close now. And he wants to drink its light. The light of the ruby. As we see, they're only 5 miles away from Mayhew. And we see Dream moving through everyone's dreams. From someone riding on Dragonback, to he travels briefly by bus, to a boat approaching the state of Delaware. He's moving through dreams, pulling toward Mayhew, feeling for the jewel, until he finally reaches the storage unit and opens the door. And as he walks around, he can faintly feel it, until at last he finds it. But when he tries to use it, it explodes, as Dream wriles in pain and drops the ruby to the ground before passing out. And finally, John and Rosemary show up to that same storage unit, as he says he's sure this is the place. And Rosemary tells him, "Listen, John, I hope it all goes well for you," and even tells him he can keep the jacket. Her husband won't really mind, and she'd hate to think of him wandering around freezing, as he gets out the car thanking her for her help. He asks her one last question, saying, "Your husband, Harry, is he really a mafia hitman?" She says, "Harry? Oh, God, no. It's just something he said when she was scared of him, and she thought he was dangerous and crazy." Harry's actually a high school teacher. And that's when John says, "Oh, well, I mean, it wouldn't have mattered anyway." And he pulls out a gun and shoots her in the head. Damn, dude, that's so ruthless. I really thought he was gonna let her go at least. He didn't seem that crazy. And John walks into the warehouse and picks up the jewel that was laying right next to Dream. As he's talking to the ruby, telling it, "Did a naughty man try to use my baby? He didn't know that you were mine these days, all mine." And even saying, "Oh, baby, you feel more powerful than ever before. Where'd you get this extra energy from? Have you been with someone else?" But he says it doesn't matter, as long as they're together. As we can see Rosemary hanging out the window after he had shot her in the head. But he left Dream after Dream tried to take the ruby. I'm surprised he didn't try shooting him. But I guess we saw that the ruby absorbed some of Dream's power. It didn't explode, it imploded. Interesting. Telling the ruby to go touch the world, eat their hearts and poison their dreams, rip their nightmares into the daylight, and scum their sleep with creeping fear. As we see him show up to a 24-hour diner. As he goes in and sits down and orders a cup of coffee while he waits. As the waiter says, "Sure thing, but what are you waiting for?" He says, the usual, the end of the world." So that brings us to this next chapter called 24 Hours. So in hour 1 at the diner, we can see a customer asking the waitress Betty if she could have a coffee refill and a tuna on rye. On the waitress's off days, after she's tidied the house, Betty Monroe writes stories. She writes them in longhand on yellow legal pads. Sometimes she writes about her ex-husband, Bernard, about her son, Bernard Jr., who went off to college and never came back to her. She makes these stories end happily. Most of her stories, however, are about her customers. They look at her and they just see a waitress. They don't know she's nursing a secret that keeps her aching calf muscles and her coffee-scalded fingers with her wariness from dragging her down. And these stories were kind of like her secret. She's never really shown anyone them. And she knows one day she'll package up the pads, bind them in a brown paper bag, and send them to one of her friends. And they'll read them, they'll publish them, and everyone will marvel at her depiction of happy, happy small town life. And their friends will ask her, "But you're a writer. How do you know what it's like to be a waitress?" And she'll just smile. And she won't tell them anything. She won't tell anyone. It'll be her secret. I mean, people think Betty talks to them so easily because she's a waitress. They don't realize she's a writer gathering material. As the lady who she served the tuna and rye and the refill on coffee to gets up and walks to the bathroom, she tells Betty that if Donna comes in, tell her to wait, okay? Be sure to wait. And Betty just says, "Sure, Judy," as Judy walks into the bathroom. And Betty already knows Judy's story. She isn't small-minded. A writer can't afford to be. And she thinks what those girls do is a sin against God and unnatural. But still, Betty feels sorry for them. So, in her story, she's already married them both off to fine young men. As we see another customer asking if they could get more coffee over here, Betty says it's no problem at all, telling the young man that it's only 11. He's still got an hour to kill, and he nervously is saying, "Yeah." As Betty's thinking to herself, "Oh, this young man talks to her easier now, because he thinks that she's a waitress, but if she was to tell him that she was a writer, they'd probably tighten up tighter than clams, unwilling to talk." She knows this young man is going for an interview with the big chemical works, so maybe tonight she'll write a story about him. She starts imagining the story she'll write. Maybe he'll get that job, marry the boss's daughter. As 2 more customers, a couple, walks in. The couple sits down already knowing what they want as the man says, "Cheeseburger, black coffee, please, Betty. You, Kate?" And Kate just saying she'll just have a salad with low cow dressing. They both seemingly know Betty already. Betty says that this couple, the Fletchers, it had been town talk that he married her for her money. But Betty could see that they just were madly in love with each other. Like lovebirds. You take one lovebird away, and the other hankers and dies away. And another customer comes in and sits down, who seems to know Betty also, as she says, "I'll be with you soon, Marsh." And all of Betty's stories have happy endings. That's because she knows when to stop. She realized that the problem with these stories, if you keep them going long enough, they always end in death. And Marcia's story, she already knew. I mean, Betty sort of looked after Marsh since Marcia died. Marsh and Marcia, the writer in her whispers they were obviously meant for each other. But Marcia drank herself to death, died yellow and whispering in a sanitarium. And of course, that drove Marsh kind of crazy. Kind of like a good mailman turned bad. He went to the state pen for stealing from mailboxes. He spent 5 years there. Nowadays, he's a trucker, working out of some uptown state where they've never heard of him, but he still likes to look in on Betty every few weeks, for old time's sake. As he asks her when she's getting off, she tells him, not till after lunch. And he just says, that's okay, I'll wait. And to Betty, these weren't just customers, they were raw material. Even the quiet little stranger in the corner seat, as we see it was John sitting there. And she starts thinking to herself, he's been sitting there since she came on shift this morning, nursing coffee after coffee, hardly drinking anything, just watching them cool away in a dream world of his own. She wonders about him. I don't know, he looks pretty scary just sulking in the corner. And she thinks she'll talk to him when things get quieter, draw him out. Then tonight, when Marsh has climbed into his truck and headed back upstate, she'll write a story about him. And in her story, she'll make him happy. As we see him dangling Dream's ruby in his hand, along with the amulet, too, that he got from his mother still. And in hour 2, Dr. Destiny, or John, was forced to act to prevent any of these flies from leaving. As we see the guy who had the interview is running a little bit late, so he's rushing to make it on time. But just as he's on his way out the door, Dr. Destiny shines his emerald, and the young man stops dead in his tracks, and just sits back down and relaxes and asks for another cup of coffee. Hour 3 was the afternoon soap opera era, where Dr. Destiny asked Betty if he could watch some television. We can also see Judy on the phone with literally anyone to try to get a hold of Donna, her girlfriend, since she hasn't seen her and talked to her and nobody's really talking to her. We can see the soap opera start up in yesterday's pulsing, churning episode of Secret Hearts. A lady says, "You mean I married my dentist? But if my Siamese twin is HIV positive, doctor, doesn't that mean..." I'm not just a crazy, Kara. I'm a crazy with a gun. Say your prayers. As Judy ends up calling Donna's mom, and even her mom refuses to talk to Judy and hangs up on her, as Judy's just getting increasingly more frustrated and frantic and just wishing that she were dead. And in hour 4, Dr. Destiny, he just watched television. He watched them kids shows where on TV they're saying, "Hey kids, Dino the dinosaur's trying to tell me something." Gee, Dino. I don't know how it was Terry Pentradon's birthday today. Should we bake him a cake? You want me to tell and you want to tell me something else, do you, Dino? As he listens in, and then says, "Dino says we're all going to die. Dino told me. He says we should slash our wrists now." Like, what kind of kid show is this? And remember, slash down the wrist, boys and girls, not across. Bro, okay. And then he kills himself on TV as Dr. Destiny is just laughing hysterically in the diner. As they cut to "Please stand by" screen. They're experiencing some technical difficulties. In hour 5, the flies, as he likes to call the guests, start to get restless again as that one couple gets up and starts to leave before just completely forgetting what they're doing and just ends up staying there again anyway. Hour 6, Judy writes to Donna, saying, "Dear Donna, I don't blame you for all that you said about us that night. And I said I was sorry after I hit you. And I am sorry. Donna, I love you. I only hurt you because I was scared of losing you. I'm sorry." Oh, that is typical fucking abuser shit. I don't think I'd take her back either. In hour 7, he makes them feel good. He makes their dreams come true, gives them what they want. As we can see, the young man, Mark, who had the interview, his dream was to just make a bunch of money and be the executive director of the big fancy pharmaceutical company, chemical company. And the guy from the couple, Gary, he's having a $20 hooker in a convertible. Then he'll beat her up, throw her out of the car, drive off. He gets such a kick out of doing that. So he's a little crazy too. Look at that. And Kate, his girlfriend, she knows she'll never have to worry about Gary's little infidelities again. No more lipstick on his collar. He's all hers. And she basically just chopped his head off and served it on a silver platter. In hour 8, Dr. Destiny moves among them, experiencing their little pleasures, their minor joys. The jewel whispers to him of elsewhere pain and faraway madness, of far-off deaths and distant terrors. This comforts him. He feels echoes of their dreams. Betty has dislodged Stephen King as the bestsellers list. It does little for him. Simple pleasure no longer excite him. But Judy's bittersweet reunion with Donna provides fractionally more stimulant for him. But Marsh thinks he's dead, drank himself to hell and gone, rigid on a slab. His liver has failed, his skin is slowly going cold. Dee almost gets enjoyment from that. Nearly as much enjoyment as he gets from watching his jewel in action as he continues to watch the news, as they say, is everybody going crazy? I mean, from across the state, there's news of madness, suicide, and bad dreams. Hour 9, conflict, he decides, reveals character, as they just start fighting. Mainly Marsh just going after Judy, calling her a dyke bitch and punching her in the face. But hour 10, they love him. Carrying Dr. Destiny around on his shoulder as kid Mark cuts his finger off, writing God on Dr. Destiny's chest and offering him the finger to eat. And of course, Dr. Destiny accepts the offer. He doesn't want to be an ungracious God toward them. I mean, it's getting bad. It's getting crazy. In hour 11, he catches up on the news again. They're saying nightmares, sleeplessness, and insanity reported earlier on the local news is shaping up to be a planet-wide phenomenon. Reports have already come in from Asia and Europe of accidents and disasters, from people falling asleep on freeways, planes, crashing, botched surgeries. And they're here with the full report. Leading fundamentalists have already begun to proclaim the Armageddon. Internationally, people can't sleep, or they have nightmares, and anybody even marginally mentally unbalanced is going over the edge. No international superheroes were available for comment, so I spoke to Herschel of local superhero team, the amazing Herschel and Betty. And Betty just is saying that she thinks it's probably the Rays or something like that, but I mean, we all know what it is. They just don't. In hour 12, it was time for them to get to know each other better, as Kate starts out with her most shameful thing she's ever done. I mean, she starts out by saying she was 18 and at college. She was drunk, really drunk. And next door to her apartment was a funeral home. And her boyfriend had just split up with her. And that's when she got super drunk and she was just crazy horny. And she just walked and found herself outside the funeral home and just sort of tried the door. She thinks she was maybe looking for a place to pee, a ladies' room or something like that. And when she tried a door, the door opened, but it was a mortuary. And there was a body on the table, a young guy. And she could see, he was good looking. And she thought she'd be freaked out, but she wasn't. She was kind of excited. Then she went over to the body and started to play with it. Then she climbed on top of him and started, really going at it. And all of a sudden, blood started to swell up in his mouth. And she put her face down and, she stops there. I mean, she doesn't need to continue going on. We know what she did. She goes on to say that sometimes she asked Gary, her husband, to lie still so she could pretend, but it was never the same. Some twisted stuff. Hour 13, they got to know each other intimately, and they just had one big orgy with the Addams family playing in the background. I mean, really going to town, all of them, as Dr. Destiny just sits there saying, neat. In hour 14, midnight now, he consults the oracles, asking them to tell him his future. And they say, you come from dust, you walk the dust, you go back to dust. And he tells them again to tell him his future. And this time they say, there is no future for you, John Dee. It's a future bounded by walls and guards and the sour smells of madness. And then your skein of your life is cut, son of your mother. And finally, Dr. Destiny's getting mad as he just demands them to tell him his future. And they say, you have stolen some of the power of dream. You will take all of it. You will crush out the Dream Lord's life in your hands, John Dee. As Dr. Destiny sits there saying, that's good. I like that future. Clever flies, clever little insects. I mean, it's like shaking a magic 8 ball until you get the answer you want, right? In hour 15, he did give them back their minds for a little bit, as they're all like fucking furious, as I would be too. Betty questioning, why? What did we do? Even Marsh is like, why us, goddammit? Why are you doing this stuff to us? Are you gonna kill us? And Dr. Destiny tells him, why? Because I can. I mean, not for long, dude. Your time is short. Hour 16 was party games. They played Murder in the Dark, as in the dark, someone just screams, and someone else is just laughing. Hee 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 hee. Hour 17 was Confession and Penance, as Marcia's telling Betty, you know, Marcia knew about us. That's why she began drinking. And Marsh saying that he had hated her. I mean, she was the only woman that he loved, but he hated her. And on New Year's Eve, he spent his whole paycheck on a crate of vodka. Then he left it in their bedroom, and he left town for a whole week. And when he came back, she was in the hospital. I mean, he pretty much killed her. I mean, yeah, that's pretty much killing her. And he goes on to say, and I can tell you something else. Marsh says he saw Betty's son, little Bernie, said that he had been selling his ass in Gotham, got picked up for knifing his pimp. He even says that you could have him for a pack of cigarettes in jail. As Betty just says, I don't want to hear this shit. And he tells Betty that he did. As Betty just continues hammering nails in Marsh's hand. Hour 18, he brings out the beast in them. As Marsh, the old male, gnaws at his trapped front leg. It has followed the pack at a distance for years, hunting for scraps, as the females, nervous of the coming conflict, huddle together for comfort. The pack leader is spoiling for a fight. And they're calling the pack leader Gary. He advances on the young male, as we can see Mark growling, crawling up, and advances, thinking soon these females will be all his. But the pack leader pauses, then springs and attacks Mark as they fight, growling and roaring on the ground. But the pack leader's teeth are strong and sharp. He is a good leader. The challenge has been met. The smell of blood is heavy on the air. He just kind of kills Mark. In hour 19, he lies to them, telling them, to prove it safe, I'll have the green side. You have the red half. Trusting the wicked queen, Snow White took a bite from the rosy red apple and instantly fell down as if she were dead. As Kate just whispers, but she's not really dead, is she, Dr. D? Is she? I guess it turned into story time. In hour 20, it was time for entertainment, as the three ladies put on a show and start singing for Dr. Destiny as he watches their clapping. In hour 21, he shows them the delights of belief. As Judy takes 2 knives in her hand, saying, I want to see it, doctor. I trust you. I will see the glory. And stabs herself in both eyes, saying, Ah, God, I can see it, sweet Lord. I can see the glory. And by hour 22, they're all dead. No one's left except for Dr. Destiny. So, by hour 23, he's left just waiting, alone by himself, with the ruby that he stole from Dream in his hand, eating the last fly that's alive around him. And in hour 24, finally, Dream shows up as Dr. Destiny greets him, saying, hello, I'm glad you're here. I was starting to get a bit boring, but even you don't look strong enough to make it interesting, do you? Clearly not knowing who Dream is or the Internal. So that brings us to Sound and Fury. And Dream comes in questioning Dr. Destiny, like, what are you doing? And Dr. Destiny tells him, I'm hurting them all. I'm driving them mad. As Dream questions him, saying, you're using the Dreamstone to do that? Why? And Dr. Destiny just tells him, because it's fun. He doesn't want to stop. He thinks he'll dismember the world, then he'll dance in the wreckage. And Dream tries to explain to Dr. Destiny that he was the one who made the stone, that he crafted it from the very fabric of his being. I mean, the stone was powered by his spirit. It was made to manipulate the very fabric of dreams of the world where Dream rules. And tells Dr. Destiny, if you stop right now, that if he gave his ruby back now and reversed whatever he did to the jewel, that he could possibly repair what damage he's done to the world already in the 24 hours since he had the jewel. because the jewel has too much power of Dream remaining in it. And when Dream tried to use the jewel, it actually took more power from Dream. As that was pretty much all Dr. Destiny needed to hear. He was like, oh, it was yours. Your soul is the fire in the heart of my jewel. It's your stolen power I've been using all these years. Yes, I see very well. So Dream questions him. So you will repair it and give control of it back over to me. And Dr. Destiny is like, give you my baby? Don't be stupid. I'm gonna kill you. And leaps at him. And Dream's like, kill me? And Dream's thinking, with the power of his own ruby, perhaps he could, if he absorbed too much of the soul stuff already. As he questions Dr. Destiny, kill me? See, if you would fight me, mortal, you will not take me unprepared, and takes out his helm, as he says, nor garbed for less than a battle, and puts it on, and tells Dr. Destiny, and you shall not do it here. If you would steal a Dream Lord's power, then you shall do it in the Dream Lord's realm, in dreams, and rips open a portal and walks through it, leading to the dream world, leaving Dr. Destiny there just screaming, coward! But that's exactly what Dr. Destiny had planned to do, telling his Ruby, my beloved, follow him, take me into dreams now. So Dr. Destiny emerges in what appears to be old school Rome, being hailed as Caesar, where the first thing he says is, I had a dream where I was assaulting my mother. What does that say, soothsayer? As three maids answer him, saying that it means that you will rule the world, Caesar, our universal mother. As Dr. Destiny is just pleased, saying, good, yes, that's it. But then the three maidens turn, saying, no, that's not it at all. It doesn't mean anything, nothing more than this. You had a dream about assaulting your mother? A tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And even Dr. Destiny's dead mother appears in the sky, saying, you had a what? Johnny D, I wish to God I had strangled you at birth. As Dr. Destiny's just saying, don't say that, Mama. It was only a dream. I didn't really mean it. And two giant figures wearing Dream's helm approach, saying, Caesar, beware the ideas of March. As Dr. Destiny stops them, saying, no, it's not that. That's... What is it? Beware the march of ideas? No. Then they say, beware the brides of Frankenstein as they transform. And Dr. Destiny's out. He's just like, no, stay back, go away. Gripping onto his ruby as he just disappears into a void of blankness and nothingness, where all he has is just his ruby. As Dr. Destiny starts talking to it, saying, they've gone. You did that, my baby. My ruby. I know you. God, this is all a dream. I'm in the dream world. As he starts to remember why he's actually there. He's there to kill the Dream Lord and take the kingdom for his own. He says, I hold your stolen power in my hands, and I will take all of it. Laughing to himself, thinking that he's going to like it here. So Dr. Destiny just starts searching for Dream. Searching through hundreds and millions of sleepers, stirred uneasily in their slumber, as Dr. Destiny goes from dream to dream, looking for the Lord of Dream, saying, you can't hide from me forever. I mean, it looks like everybody's wearing Dream's helm. So, finally, Dr. Destiny stops running, and he's just like, I've had enough, and starts calling out Dream, and just destroying what he can with the ruby, edging Dream on to come out and see him, telling him, oh, can you see? I'm using your precious ruby. I'm using your power in your dream world to tear your dream world apart. And the sleeping people all over the world scream and whimper and moaned. They thrashed and called out, as if caught in the darkest of nightmares. And in dreams, John D spewed his hate and laughter onto the emerald winds. Eve stares out from her cave at the erupting dreamscape. Her raven caws unkindly at the havoc. The quakes and the lights send the keepers of the story scurrying for the cover. Their monster hides with them under the bed. Abel and Cain. And even in the garden of the forking ways, Destiny finds himself, perhaps for the first time, hesitant to turn to the next page in his book. As Dr. Destiny just keeps growing more and more powerful, saying, Mother, if you could only see me now, and watch me. And calling out Dream, telling him to watch him. Do you know what I'm gonna do next? And Dream's just saying, stop, enough, I am here, D. And Dr. Destiny's just like, finally, there you are. Telling Dream, this lovely thing is yours, isn't it? It contains your life, your magic, your power, right? And Dream just says, that's right. And Dr. Destiny says, the last time you used it, it sucked out more, yes? And Dream just tries to plead with him one last time, telling him, like, you gotta stop. You're hurting the people that are dreaming. You're tampering with the order of things, the natural order of things. And Dr. Destiny doesn't want to hear it, just saying, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I'm going to take all of it. I will take your life, every bit of it, and all of your power, and uses his ruby to blast Dream. And he just keeps blasting Dream with his own ruby, even taunting him, telling him, does that hurt? Does it? I bet it hurts. I bet it hurts a lot. What does it feel like to have the life sucked out of you? Tell me. I want to know. As Dream tries to reach him, Destiny tells him, get away from me. I hold your life in my hands. I can kill you. I can end your life. This is your life. Dream, sneak. And I'm crushing it out with my hands as he keeps going till a huge red light explodes through the dreamland. And Dr. Destiny starts talking to himself, saying, I did it. I killed him. Whoever he was, whatever it was, it's dead. The ruby's gone too. But he feels so strange. He feels different now. So, now that he rules the dream world, he will hide in dreams. I mean, he's never going to go back. Never leave here for the real world where people hurt him, where they don't care, where they die when you still need them. He starts thinking about how he'll rule this world. He'll be a wise and tolerant monarch, dispensing justice fairly, and only setting nightmares to wipe out the minds of those evil and wicked, or just anybody he doesn't like. And he jumps into the air screaming, I am the king of dreams, of everything. But it's funny, he always thought that when he became king, there would be some kind of applause. He thought that somebody would say something. As a giant dream lord, holding Dr. Destiny in his hands, says, thank you, John D. Dream tells him it has been so long that he had forgotten. He had forgotten how much power he had placed into that jewel. How much of it was denied to him. As Dr. Destiny just says, but I killed you, and confused, saying, what are you going to do to me? Dream tells him, I'm not really sure, you know? He kind of pretended to use power that wasn't his. He wreaked havoc in the dream realm. He inflicted pain upon his person, and for that, Dream says he should be punished. But he did destroy the ruby, and that's something that Dream never really thought about. And destroying that ruby released the power stored inside of it, and relinquished control back of the dream world back to Dream. As he says, it feels so good to have all his power back. Dr. Destiny questions him, are you going to kill me? Dream just tells him, you know, I could. Perhaps I will even. Dr. Destiny just apologizes to Dream, but Dream says it doesn't matter. He should have never used the ruby to begin with. I mean, it wasn't made for mortals, and the damage to Dr. Destiny's mind must have been considerable. So Dr. Destiny's just like, really? After everything I did, you're not going to do anything to me? Dream tells him, of course I'm going to do something, John D. I am going to take you home, as a door appears before them. And as they walk through the door, Scarecrow comes out and says, boo, trying to scare him. But he stops him and says, sorry, hold on, I gotta put on my spectacles, he can't see without him. As he sees the person that he scared was actually Dr. Destiny, that he had come back, and even brought a friend. And Scarecrow remembers telling him that they always come back. It is a comfort to wretchedness to have companions in woe. Marlowe Faust. I mean, of course, he was talking about hell, but it applies equally to Arkham. As Dr. Destiny says, there's no place like home, Professor Crane. As Dr. Destiny is saying his goodbyes to Dream, and still apologizing about everything that he did, Dreams just tells him, sleep well, John D. But Scarecrow says, I can't sleep well because there's a rat in my cell. And Dr. Destiny just says, I don't sleep. And Dream says, perhaps you will tonight. But before Dream leaves, Scarecrow stops him, saying, listen, it's so horrible here, all the screaming. I mean, Mr. Dent tried to strangle himself. It's been so mad, quite terrifying. Telling him even at night, there's always someone crying, someone calling out, someone in the next cell banging their head against the wall, banging and banging and banging. And Dream just tells him, go back to your bed, Jonathan Crane, go to sleep. I have a castle to rebuild, a world to reclaim, but tonight at least, tonight, humanity will sleep in peace. As he disappears, and Scarecrow just thinking, I fear you may have been having a hallucination, and yawning ready for bed. So now he has all his stuff back. He's got the ruby, he's got the helm, he's got the pouch of sand, he's free. All he has left to do is rebuild his place. But first, we have the sound of her wings. So now that Dream has all of his stuff, he's just chilling at a park, feeding the birds. Just having a peaceful, quiet moment when a ball comes zooming straight toward his head. But without even looking, he just kind of catches the ball instantly. As one of the guys whose ball it was runs up saying, nice catch. And Dream just gives it back to him. The young kid questions, did you want to play ball? Dream just declines, saying, no thank you, I'm feeding the pigeons. As the kid just runs away. And a mysterious woman walks up to Dream. She walks up to Dream and sits next to him, questioning him what he's doing, and he just says, feeding the pigeons. And she says, do you... And she tells him, you do that too much, you know what you'll get? Fat pigeons. I mean, that was a line from Mary Poppins. She says she loves that movie and questions Dream if he ever saw it, and he just says no. She goes back into the whole plot of the story. You know, it's Mary Poppins. She comes down from the clouds, shows people what's important. She even says the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, as Dream's just like, what? She slows it down. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You know, utterly fantabulous word. It means like great, wonderful. Saying it's one of her favorite movies that everybody should know. Before finally getting to the point and asking Dream the tough questions, so what's actually the matter? Questions like, what do you mean? She says, you know, I know you. Something's wrong. I mean, look at you, just sitting here moping around, feeding birds. Dream tells her that, yeah, he doesn't know what's wrong, but something is definitely the matter. That for the past 70 plus years, his only thought has been revenge. And after he was freed and got revenge, he didn't feel very satisfied from that. And then after he found all of his items that were stolen from him, you know, the pouch that was relatively easy, or the helmet that he regained when he challenged a demon, that only left the ruby. He tells her the ruby was a little more challenging, you know. It had been taken by the human and all that stuff that happened with Dr. D, and how the ruby actually took more power from it, and he didn't realize how powerful the ruby itself really was. But after he got it back, he felt drained. He felt disappointed or even let down, if that made sense. He felt nothing. So that was his answer to her, that he wasn't sure what was wrong, but it was nothing. She kind of just stops him and says, are you finished yet? And Dream just says, yes. She says, you could have called me. And Dream just tells her, I didn't want you to worry. And she's like, yeah, I didn't believe that. And kind of starts laying into him, calling him all these kind of names and stuff like that. Saying, feeling sorry for yourself because your little game is over. And you haven't got the balls to go and find a new one. Throwing a pop can at the top of Dream's head. Bounces off. She tells Dream that he's just as bad as Desire, or worse. And didn't occur to him that she'd be worried sick about him. And he just says, I didn't think, and she cuts him off saying, yeah, that's exactly right. You didn't think. You overgrown bubble-headed. And another ball comes in as she just, without looking, the reflexes on these guys are crazy, just catches the ball. And it's the same kid that runs up and comes up and compliments her on saying, killer catch. You're a mean ball player as your friend here. And she just tells him, he's not my friend. He's my brother, and he's an idiot. As Dream's just saying, I'm just feeding the birds. She tells Dream that she's got work to do and she can't sit around here all day. So he could either come with her, and he just agrees. He's like, yeah, I'll come with you. And she's just like, don't do me any favors. But the kid comes back and tries asking her out, saying, could I see you again? And she says, sure, Franklin. You'll see me again real soon. But when he turns away, they disappear. And he turns back saying, like, how did you know my name was? And she's just gone. So as they travel, it's soundless. No heads turn to mark their passing. And as they pass, people shiver and look away, mutter to each other. It feels like someone walked over my grave, I heard one man saying. To where they finally meet their destination of an oldish. So they finally reach their destination of an old man playing an old Romanian song that Dream says he hasn't heard in over 200 years. As his sister greets the old man, he says, "Oh, I didn't hear anybody come in." He says, do you know me?" And she says, "Yes, I know who you are, Harry. Do you know who I am?" And he just comes to a realization. You're... No, not yet, please. Yeah, I know who you are. He stops her and says, "Excuse me, just something I gotta do. Always used to wonder if I would, but, what the hey." And just starts praying in every language. The Lord, Israel, everyone. And finally, when he's taken, he looks at his old body sitting on the couch, thinking, he looks so empty. He looks so old. And questions, what now? She tells him, "Now's when you find out, Harry." And she draws him in close, and from the darkness, Dream can hear the beating of her mighty wings as she reappears, saying, "I thought he was sweet, didn't you?" And Dream just says, "Sweet? I don't know, perhaps," and continues to tell his sister Death that when he was captured, it wasn't me that they wanted, it was her. And she says, "Yeah, I know," and just ushers them along to a comedy show, to a comedian who's pretty much killing it at her comedian show, but her hands are sweating, and just as she tells a last joke, she grabs the mic and it electrocutes her as she screams. And Death comes for her too, as she's dead looking at her body, saying, "Those assholes, I don't believe it." The screwing mic was live. Those cheap, no good. As she notices Death and realizes what time it was her time. She just says, "Why couldn't have I had a few more lousy years? She may have made it to the top." But Death just apologizes to Esme and says it was your time, as Death can hear the sound of her wings. I can hear the sound. And when she comes back, they continue on until they reach their next destination, to a mother who just sets down her baby just to grab a bottle for a second. As Death comes to pick up the baby questions, "Is that all there was? Is that all I get?" Death responds saying, "Yeah, I'm afraid so," as Dream can hear the sound of wings, as the mother returns with the bottle and drops it, screaming no, breaking down on the floor, crying. As they continue on, Dream finds himself wondering about humanity. Their attitude toward his sister's gift is so strange. He wonders, why do they fear the sunless lands? It is as natural to die as it is being born. But they fear her, dread her. Feebly, they attempt to placate her. They do not love her. And he remembers, thousands of years ago, he heard a song in a dream, a mortal song that celebrated her gift. And he remembers it. "Death is before me today, like the recovery of a sick man, like going forth into a garden after sickness. Death is before me today, like the odor of myrrh, like sitting under a sail in a good wind. Death is before me today, like the course of a stream, like the return of a man from the war galley to his house, like his death before me today, like the home that a man longs to see after years spent as a captive." I mean, Dream knows this forgotten poet understood her gifts. His sister had a function to perform, as did Dream, as do all the Endless. They all have their own responsibilities, and Dream has his own responsibilities. As he walks beside her, the darkness lifts from his soul. As he walks with her, he hears the gentle beating of mighty wings. And finally, they end up back where they started, at the park, where Dream's thanking her for what his sister Death showed him. She says, "Yeah, that's what family's about." She just has one last appointment and then she has to go. As Dream tells her, she's given him much to think about. As we can see her head turn because someone's calling out, "Yo, Franklin!" We see the boy from earlier who was playing ball is talking to his friends about the super bad lady that she saw, as he runs out into traffic and gets hit by a car trying to chase after a ball. As Franklin's just standing there saying, "Wow, when that car came out, I thought I was a goner for sure," as he notices that bad girl from before. Says, "When you said I see you again soon, I didn't think you meant this soon." As she just says, "Hold that thought, Franklin." and says goodbye to her brother Dream, saying, "Don't be a stranger, okay?" She turns back to Franklin, saying, "Now, before you say anything else, you better come over here. There's something you maybe ought to see." As Dream just says, "Goodbye, sister." Damn, Franklin died, man. Kind of knew it when she knew his name. So, Dream continues to walk through the park, thinking, there's so much to do in his kingdom, much to restore, much to create. But that can wait. He's found that solace that he sought, though not in the way he imagined. From dreams, he conjured a handful of yellow grain. He throws the grain into the air, and he hears it, the sound of wings. And that is the end of the story. That is the 30th anniversary edition of Sandman. Wow, what a story, guys. Honestly, this has been one of my favorite stories. It is pretty long, but it is pretty great. So, if you guys have seen this whole video, then you should be... There is a show on Netflix called The Sandman, and there are 2 seasons of that. If you've seen this video, you can watch up to 6 episodes. That's where this video cuts off in the story. But the show itself is pretty good too. They change around a lot in the end. They change a lot. They do a lot of gender swaps too, I've noticed. So in the beginning with Cain and Abel, their story, Dream actually takes the gargoyle in the show instead of the 2 letters that he gets from Cain and Abel. But in the end, he does give them a gargoyle back, a little baby gargoyle that becomes Irving or Goldie. In this story, he actually, I mean, Dr. Destiny's ruthless. They go through a lot more heroes too. Like they have Etrigan and stuff in here. They do have John Constantine in the show. It is the female John Constantine though. It's a girl. She's not John. Her name's something different in the show because she is a Constantine. She's just like a super late relative. And in here, Dr. Destiny actually shoots Rosemary after she drives him to get his amulet, but in the show, he actually gives Rosemary the amulet that his mother leaves for him and lets her go and lets her leave. So, like I said, they have a couple differences between the show and the book. I personally loved the book a lot better. It was a great story, great series. There's a couple more things I want to talk about. So the very beginning was the guards dreaming, well, daydreaming. They weren't even dreaming. They were just daydreaming, and that was enough to let him out through just a crack. So I was kind of surprised by that. I think after retelling it and watching the show, he grabs the sand from the dream, and that's what he uses to knock them all out. Then after he's free, he pretty much does the same thing. He gets that same kind of revenge, the eternal waking on Alex. I actually had to look it up, dude. The eternal waking, the actual definition, is a sadistic punishment inflicted by Dream on Alex Burgess, forcing him into a Groundhog Day loop of horror, where Alex perpetually wakes up from a nightmare only to realize that he's still dreaming and trapping him in a continuous, inescapable loop of despair. It's crazy. So yeah, I had to look that up too. Like I could kind of understand what he was talking about and what was happening, but yeah, that's the eternal waking that he's talking about. The other question I had was, who was Nadia, the person that was imprisoned for 10,000 years? It's funny because this is a story that they tell in the 2nd book of Sandman. So in the 2nd book, it starts out with the story of this. It's basically just a tragic love story, forbidden romance story, where after falling in love with the Endless, Nada rejects Dream's proposal to rule the dreaming, fearing her love for a mortal would cause destruction. Consequently, she spends 10,000 years in hell due to guilt and their unresolved conflict, with Dream feeling responsible for her choices. Basically, he threw her in hell because she wouldn't love him. She wouldn't be the ruler of his dream world, which, I don't know, man. After 10,000 years, you gotta get over that. I will say the diner scene gets pretty crazy, and it does loop back in to a lot of different parts coming up in the story. I will say that a lot of parts do loop back into the story, and I do love that about this. Like, you'll see other stories come into effect, you'll see some other people come back, and all of that. It's a great series. This is actually the 30th anniversary book of the Sandman. So this had like 8 chapters in one. It had a lot to go over. This is also DC's Black Label. And the DC Black Label is just what they created to make small stories that don't affect the like main canon timeline. So this is one of them. A couple other ones they have would be Batman White Knight, Superman Year One, or Batman Last Night on Earth. So I mean, they do have a couple other good ones. It's not just the Sandman, but this was one of my first DC Black Label books. And currently right now I'm on the 4th book. There's 11 or 12 I believe total. And they're pretty long books, as you can see from this video, but they're definitely worth the read, definitely worth the story. So if you feel inclined, go check them out. And until next time, guys, we'll be back with another story. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good one.